Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris.
TJ, before we start talking, this is just 2 clips we've shown so far, and twice now has Donald Trump interrupted the reporter, interrupted the moderator before the moderator could prompt him to speak. It's so funny. He did it the whole night.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, and of course, he just can't help himself. The Trump just can't help but being so belligerent about that. And I think a lot of these discussions, we focus a lot on how bad Trump was and take away from Harris's performance. And Harris, we all knew that all that Harris had to do was come out there and be a competent politician. She didn't need to be, William Jennings Bryan up there. She did not need to stun everybody with her oration, but she did an excellent job. When she needed to be passionate, like with the abortion speech, she was passionate. When she needed to throw in, because she could have thrown in that immigration line, that Trump rally line, or the immigration line anytime she wanted, found a way to poke the bear and everything. Walking up and shaking his hand and forcing her presence upon him. She did an excellent job, and I think this is a great example of that. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, there were obviously questions that she avoided. I understand why. I really hate the "are we better off" question, because it begs so many questions about what is better off and in what sector and for whom, and why answer that question. It's clearly trying to presuppose that there is something that isn't better, and that is based on a lot of perception and personal. But yeah, she's not Obama. I've seen a lot of people Obama was so much more passionate and articulate. Well, she's not him.
Yeah,
she is who we need at this time. She is the candidate we need at this time. She is a woman of color who has, I assume, gone up against men like him her entire fucking life, who think that she is nothing, that she deserves nothing, that she has to work 15 times harder than they do just to get into a conversation with them. And one strike, they're out. And he is that man, and she knows exactly how to deal with it. She is the right person for this moment, which is to bury MAGA.
Yep.
She is not other candidates, because this is not the same time as them. This is not the same place that we are as a country. We are completely different, dealing with different things, and she is the right person for the right moment.
Speaking of comparing her to other candidates, I could not help but notice how much she learned from Hillary's failings.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this before on the show, where Hillary made the campaign about her being the first woman president, and Kamala, I don't think she's mentioned it a single time. And that is excellent. Very smart. You learn that lesson. Make it about Trump, not about you being the first woman president. She nails that. But even in a lot of the things she did, her mannerisms, when she made the joke, when she was like, this former president, Hillary Clinton would have face planted that joke. Absolutely. I would have, if I was her advisor and she suggested making that joke, I would have told her to get on a plane and go somewhere else. But she landed that perfectly. When she was looking at him, like you mentioned, with the teacher look, it worked. It didn't come off as this condescending woman look. It just worked. It looked natural. And I've seen like conservatives try and attack it, but like she nailed the whole vibe. She got it. And I don't know how she did. Like it was way better than my expectations. I thought at least a couple times she would come across poorly. She would come across unlikable. Not really a single fucking time did she have an unlikable moment.
She hasn't missed at all since coming out of this. She has not missed. It is remarkable to watch. I think we don't appreciate it in the moment how absolutely insane that this is happening, and to the degree of its execution is, I would say, almost completely flawless. I mean, there might be some minor missteps, but compared to the amount of time that she has had to completely remake an entire party, but basically the party is like, please, thank God, we don't feel resigned to having to support a geriatric old man who cannot speak what's in his mind. Doesn't mean that it's not in his head. He just can't get it out of his mouth. To be different, like she learned the lesson from Biden too. Like you said that she learned from Hillary, which is true, but she learned from Biden, which is to not keep focusing on the past. Talk about what they did, like always going back to what he did and what he did. She's like, nope, we're moving forward. You are the past. You are done. You are old. You are dragging us to a time we want to be for. I'm talking about moving us forward. And she did great with that.
Yeah, we reference that too, because whenever Biden would talk, and he did in the debate as well, he likes to talk about, I'm the guy that put together NATO. I'm the guy that kept NATO together. It's like, buddy, there are 0 people voting on this. Why do you keep talking about it? And Trump mentioned NATO in the debate. And I was like, oh, Biden's really jealous. He would love to come back to the debates to talk about NATO one more time. And I had brought up what Jon mentioned about learning from Hillary Clinton and not talking about how it's going to be a big deal to elect me as the first woman president. Hillary Clinton did that a lot. Because I brought up when Obama ran back in 07 and 08, I was watching very carefully to see if he would ever mention, if you elect me, I'll be the first black president. To my knowledge, he never brought it up one time. And I remember thinking, that is very smart. That's good politics right there, because yeah, who gives a fuck? Like that's cool and all, but you're running for, convince me off the, you're the basis of the strength of your own ideas, not about making some sort of history. And Hillary Clinton, so she had the example of Obama and say, okay, no, but she did it anyway. And it allowed, like, even the campaign slogan for the Clinton presidency was, I'm with her. That was the campaign slogan.
Yeah.
And I remember Donald Trump, he was talking about it. He says, it's really funny that her campaign slogan is I'm with her. Because the way I see it, I'm with you, the American people. It's like, God damn it. That's good. That's good right there. And she walked right into it, stepped on that rake over and over again. And Harris learned from that. And also, I think that Kamala Harris has a unique quality of being a politician who's as close to a normal person as a politician can be. Like Bernie Sanders has this quality, and I hate to say it, Donald Trump has this quality. It's like where like normal ass people act like this all the time. And Kamala Harris doesn't seem to be a robot when she's on stage. Yeah, her laugh is, kind of goofy, but I have a goofy laugh. A lot of people do. And she reminds you of like your auntie that you'll see at a 4th of July, picnic or something, and even the joke telling, because Jon, you brought up about the Pokemon go to the polls thing, and an infamous line. Oh no, you brought up the jokes, but I was thinking about the Pokemon go to the polls, an infamous line from Clinton. But I will defend to this day, that could have been a C+ joke if she delivered it well. Yeah. Like if she was just talking like, we had this Pokemon Go, but how about your Pokemon go to the polls? Like that could have worked. Like that could have worked, but she doesn't have it in her to actually, deliver jokes very well. So I just want to give credit to Harris, because even I've been saying this a long time, that anybody could beat Trump in a debate. And I made a video saying that, yeah, look, she just showed me a normal person. But I do want to put it on the record that I'm not trying to take away from Kamala Harris's performance, because she has done an excellent job. Like you were saying, Paul, start to finish. All right, when Biden dropped out and Harris, was the nominee, easily could have fucked that up. Like, honestly, more likely than not that you would fuck that up, or that it would be impossible to consolidate the party that quickly. And she did a great job with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's remarkable. It's remarkable that look at how much money she's raised from like donors that aren't super PACs and stuff like that. Just, it's unbelievable. But yeah, like, it's no surprise to me personally that Barack Obama and Kamala Harris both know I don't need to bring up who I am in terms of my race and gender, because there are going to be plenty of people who are going to do that as some sort of mark against me. I don't need to give them that ammunition because they probably dealt with it their entire life. Why give the ammo that someone's going to use anyway? Which people who are like a Biden or a Hillary don't have that perspective because they've already had all of the advantages that are on their side. So they don't think that way.
Very true. I want to go to Donald Trump's response to the abortion issue, which was just as good, folks. I mean, come on, this guy. If anyone, no one knows more about abortion than him. But let's see what he has to say here.
Because he got aborted that night.
Oh, you know what? Paul, it's funny you say that. I was trying to think of what to title this live stream, and I was going to title it "Kamala Harris Aborts Donald Trump's Campaign." I thought that would have been, but it was too wordy, so I didn't go with it. But let's see what Trump's response here is.
Vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. Take courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. And to the issue of
when she said that, I died laughing.
Right? It's so funny. It's so funny. She does. But by the way, folks, that's infanticide is illegal in all 50 states and every territory in the union. But moving on to the next person.
It was
there.
the Billy Madison. We are all dumber for having listened to.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts on that, John? Trump's abortion stick there. What do you think?
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts. One, you nailed it on the live stream. You immediately called out that it was the governor of Normal Virginia.
Yes,
not
I
West
said
Virginia.
Normal Virginia.
That was impressive. That was because I did not recognize that. And for anyone who's wondering, I literally just posted a video about this on TikTok and Instagram at Counterpoint Politics for anyone who's interested. But what he said, what they're talking about.
I got you. Here you go.
Okay, there you go.
Northam. We're talking about Northam. Is that
yeah. So it's funny. During the stream, when he said that, I said, because I said it was Normal Virginia, not West Virginia, which I shouldn't have said. Because I don't want to besmirch any of our grace. The first Virginia, but yeah. So. I pulled this up too because I want to talk about this. This has been something that's bugged me for a very long time. But John, you can go ahead if you want to.
Well, I was saying he was talking not about. First of all, post-birth abortion is a dumb term. It doesn't like abortion is defined as ending a pregnancy prematurely. If the pregnancy has ended by giving birth, an abortion definitionally cannot occur. So there's that. But what he was talking about there, what that governor was talking about, was palliative care for unviable births. When a child is born, and TJ's brought this up on the show before, please God, TJ, do not show the picture that you showed the other day. But like when a baby is born, sometimes they're not going to make it, guys. Yeah. It sucks. It's a fact of life. Mm-hmm. We don't have the technology to save all the babies that are born. And some of them are born with defects that make it so that they are not going to survive. And so what the governor was discussing was a bill which would have prohibited or would have forced doctors to give resuscitative care to babies, even if there was virtually no chance of their survival. And that is awful because it puts them in additional excruciating pain. The parents cannot hold their child at all. They just die on the machine. And it's sad. And that is what Donald Trump is describing as executing a baby. Like that, it's a complete unreality. And he deserves to get fact checked for that, because it's not even a situation where he's saying the wrong number or something. He's making up something that simply does not exist. And he does that many times, but this is one of the most insidious ones that actually I don't think a lot of people, like, I think when people hear him say millions of criminal immigrants are flooding the country, I think the average person doesn't believe that. They realize that that's ridiculous. I would argue that there's a lot of median voters out there who just kind of believe that Democrats allow post-birth abortions because Republicans keep saying it. And it really needs to be fact-checked hard, because it's completely false.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Paul?
Do you guys get tagged from people who are your trolls in other videos because they want to try to make a point? I'm assuming that's common, right?
Yeah, we had one join our live stream on Tuesday.
We did. Yeah, that's right. One of John's super fans, apparently.
I've done that too. We've done a live and had people come in and we talked about gun stuff, and it actually turned out pretty well. But I had this guy kept tagging me on this girl. You might see it because it's recent. She did it in the last couple of days, where she apparently called Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland. Apparently, because what she says is like, I am calling Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland, and she just has her phone like this, and then she hits a button, and then it cuts, and then you hear, this is Bethesda Care Clinic. How may I help you? And she's like, I want to have an abortion, but I'm 9 months pregnant. And then cut, and then it has this person over the phone talking about what they're going to do for her to be able to, it's like, well, you deserve that right to end that pregnancy that you don't want. Like, it is clearly a friend that she called that is probably reading from a crisis pregnancy center script that talks about what, the horrible things that the left does to be. And everyone believed it. Like, they're like, this is why Donald Trump is right. This is what's happening. Because again, we saw it on TV. And like, we have to combat that, because they will do things so simple as like, all you have to do is call your friend and tell them to sound like they're from this clinic, and just everyone will believe it. Like, because I think you're right. I think they just believe that we don't care. We're like, you're the guys that sound like you don't care, because you don't care about what someone's going through in their life, that has to be the awful fucking decision they have to make after carrying a pregnancy for 9 months. And they're like, oh, you just want to end. I'm like, sure, that's what they want to do. That is a sick fucking individual that no one would want to take claim of. And if it has to be done, it's for awful, awful, awful reasons. And they want to make someone go through that awfulness by forcing the pain and the discomfort and because there's defects, there's abnormalities where they're going to suffer because either they have no brain development or no brain that actually formed, or no certain like lungs and other things. Like, they just want the pain and the suffering so that they can win for their cause. And it's horrifying that they turned it into that.
Yeah, and which is why I enjoy so much that Kamala Harris, or appreciated so much that Kamala Harris said it's insulting. Like, it is insulting to say that, these 9 month abortions or whatever, to the extent that they happen, it's literally less than 1% of abortions, because it only happens unplanned. It's always an emergency situation in which like we said, we talked about anencephaly, and Paul kind of mentioned it too, in which the fetus's skull does not develop, and there's half of their head is gone. That baby will die. 100% fatality rate. And if they catch this late in the pregnancy, like, okay, we're going to go ahead and go through this. And of course they can if they want. But, you can understand why a lot of people would not want to, go through carrying this fetus that will die. You absolutely know. And going to, trying to keep it alive for a couple of weeks and go hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt. No, I can see why they wouldn't want to resuscitate. With the Ralph Northam thing, I do think, though, that he didn't do himself any favors with the way he phrased this. And and honestly, it's hard to blame him, because the question he got asked was fucking ridiculous. But this is what they were talking about here. And it's so Northam was giving a hypothetical example of what could happen if a mother whose fetus had severe deformities or otherwise wasn't viable requested an abortion while in labor. His comments came in response to a question about whether he supported state legislation that would have loosened restrictions on abortions later in pregnancy. Experts told the AP that abortions in the third trimester are extremely rare. Social media users are misrepresenting years-old comments Northam made about an abortion in Virginia. And they asked him if a mother is in labor, no, wait, hold on. If a mother is in, wait a minute, where's the question?
I have this clip popped up right now.
Oh, you do? Okay, here we go.
Because again, I literally made a video about this moments before coming on this show.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is from an account called Being Libertarian, by the way.
Oh boy.
And it's one of the ways that you can just know if a libertarian is being honest about their ideology or if it's a hack, because all libertarians should be pro-choice. Like, it's kind of definitional in libertarianism. But here's the response.
Positions and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities. There may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
So that is the answer that he gave. Which honestly, it like when you read it, it sounds bad. When you hear him say it, it sounds much better.
It sounds like a physician, is what he sounds like.
When you hear him say it, it sounds 1,000 times better than when it's read. Because, and also, it also helps to know that the question was fucking absurd. The question is, what if someone decides to have an abortion while they're in labor? Like, someone please tell me a scenario in which that's ever happened. Because, like we mentioned before, because what right wingers seem to think is that people are having these healthy fetuses at 10 months, and they're going to say, all right, I want to abort it. If that were to ever happen, let's say someone actually came in and said, I wanted an abortion, and they were 10 months pregnant, the doctor would just induce the labor. That's what would happen. It would be a hell of a lot easier than anything else. The baby's got to come out one way or the other, and that's what would happen. And so he's, like I said, John was talking about, he's only mentioning about palliative care for severe, fatal and fetal abnormalities in which the fetus is going to die. It's just a matter of, does it have a DNR? Like, are you going to keep resuscitating this fetus or this baby that will die in a matter of minutes or days? And you're right. Like, hearing it does sound a lot better than reading it, because of course he's not going to go back and say everything that they talked about beforehand. But the fact that the Republicans have tried using this over and over and over again, and John and I talked about this during the debate, that the Democrats don't go out of their way to actually explain this, because it does. Weird. It's weird. Like,
I think they're afraid of it. I think they're afraid of getting clipped and coming across wrong, because it's a delicate plane to land, but like, they can do it.
You can. Yeah.
This is what you're there for. The same thing we're saying, TJ, about the tariffs. Like, was so, like, Paul, you're like, she played an almost perfect game, and I agree. But I thought she had a giant missed opportunity to not explain what tariffs were to the American people.
Agreed. She missed the China thing, which is, I think Ezra Klein talked about this, that she should have said, well, I'm a big enough person to admit that Donald Trump did some things that were right, like the tariffs on China, because we have to be competitive with China in the marketplace so that we continue to build our technology.
I disagree with you there on that one, Paul.
Well, I mean, she could say something. I mean, the fact is we did keep them. She can't ignore the fact that we did, and rather than ignore it and seem like this, so they can pick on that and be like, she lied, she ignored it, would be like, we beat it. It doesn't necessarily help, because he wants to do the 10 to 20% tariff on everything, which is basically trade war with the world. That's not a good thing, because you think about the large corporations in here that are multinational. They're just going to be like, oh, well, then you guys are going to pay for this. And that's what's going to happen. And like she said, she pinpointed actual study like the Cato Institute and the Wharton School, which was brilliant. Brilliant. I love that she brought up Wharton just to stab him again a little bit.
That was funny.
About it, and he's like, well, I have some professors that blah, blah, blah.
I know.
You know a guy?
Pathetic. I do like the idea, Paul, of Trade World War One. That sounds very funny. Just like kind of get the ball rolling on that. Why not? That's pretty good. But yeah, although there was only so much you could do, I guess there's only so much in such a period of time. You kind of call your shots on that. But the overall debate in general, John, what do you think is going to be or from what you've seen, the aftermath of the debate so far?
So from it's hard to tell because when you're looking at polls post debate, it's important to understand that the polls that are coming out for like past 2 days and a couple more days after this, they're not post debate polls. They're polls that were taken before the debate happened. So, and then polls that you're going to see in the next couple of days after that, they're going to be very, very high variance polls because they're not conducted with the amount of time that it takes to do real substantive polling. We're not going to know the actual results of this for about another week. So I am interested to see how the polls move. I do think it's going to have a substantial impact. Not as substantial as the Biden debate, but I think it's going to be somewhere around half of that in terms of the polling difference. We saw the CNN, and something that I read that was very interesting is that the CNN always does the independent voter, undecided voters. They have the panel of them. And that panel actually does tend to be slightly predictive of how the polls are going to go. And she smashed him. It was like an 18-point difference. And that is the largest difference with the exception of the Biden debate and the Obama-Romney 2012 terrible debate that we all tried to erase from our memory. But like, that's how bad this was. And I do think that's going to reflect in the polls. I think that all of his worst tendencies were shown. I think that non-online people, I think, were horrified by that. I understood everything Donald Trump was saying because I am immersed in the conservative online social media sphere, but most people aren't.
Right.
And he just came off like a crazy person.
Yeah. The undecideds are the ones that aren't online all the time, and they look at that and be like, what in the fuck is he talking about? I mean, even we were a little bit, I was watching it too and being like, what is he doing? Like, I know he says this at a rally, but that's a rally.
All right, guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. You genuinely have no idea how much that helped the algorithm. And if you're here right now, I'm sure you were here for our live stream of the presidential debate, which you probably just heard us talking about. Definitely be here for the next one if it happens, if Donald Trump is not a fucking chicken. Now, if you want more excellent content like this and you loved our guests, Paul, tell people where they can find you.
I'm mostly going to be on TikTok, and you can find me at Wiseacre Design. And Wiseacre doesn't mean I am full of acres of wisdom. It means I'm a smartass. So you can expect that kind of content.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much, folks. We really appreciate it. You guys are our favorite viewers. You're fantastic. We hope you appreciated Paul coming on and watching us all this time. Like with our show, we don't have a plan. We have concepts of a plan, and we seem to do it pretty well, I think. So we really appreciate it. We'll catch you guys later. All right. So